Good afternoon and welcome to Channel 44. I am Masiga Shegusembatia to bring you this afternoon's business news live here on Channel 44. We'll start with what's happening on the international scene in international business. The boss of Norwegian energy giant Equinor has said he does not expect gas and electricity bills to return to the levels they were before COVID. Anders Opedal told the press this was down to cost of moving from fossil fuels to less damaging energy sources. He said he also saw that windfall taxes on energy firms were affecting investment in projects in the United Kingdom. Equinor, like any other major energy company, has reported record profits because of higher gas prices. The firm, which makes most of its money producing oil and gas, is one of Europe's biggest energy companies with operations in 36 countries around the world, including the United Kingdom. In its most recent financial results, it reported pre-tax profits of $24.3 billion between July and September, compared to $9.7 billion in the same period the year before. India's top 1% owned by more than 40.5% of its total wealth in 2021, according to a new report by Oxfam. In 2022, the number of billionaires in the country increased to 166 from 102 in 2020, according to the report. Meanwhile, it added that poor in India are unable to afford even basic necessities to survive. The charity called on India's finance minister to levy a wealth tax on the ultra-rich to tackle this obscene inequality. The report, Survival for the Richest, was released as the World Economic Forum began in Davos, Switzerland. The report highlighted the large disparity in wealth contribution and distribution in India, saying that more than 40% of the wealth created in the country from 2012 to 2021 had gone to just 1% of the population, while only 3% had trickled down to the bottom 50%. In 2022, the wealth of India's richest man, Gautam Adani, increased by 46%, while the combined wealth of India's 100 richest had touched $660 billion. In 2022, Mr. Adani was ranked as the second richest person in the world on the Bloomberg's Wealth Index. He also topped the list of people whose wealth witnessed the maximum rise globally during the year. And meanwhile, the country's poor and middle class were taxed more than the rich, according to Oxfam. Approximately 64% of the total goods and services tax in the country came from the bottom 50% of the population, while only 4% came from the top 10 according to the report. The rich currently benefited from reduced corporate taxes, tax exemptions, and other incentives, the report added. To correct this disparity, the charity asked the finance minister to implement progressive tax measures, such as wealth tax, in the upcoming budget. Moving on, Tesla has cut the price of some of its most popular electric cars by thousands of pounds in Europe and the US in a bid to boost customer demand. The firm faces a difficult global economic outlook and increased competition from other car makers. The price cuts are in the range of 10% to 13% in the UK, but run as high as 20% on some US models. New UK buyers will save £5,500 on an entry-level Model 3 and £7,000 on the cheapest Model Y. However, more than 16,000 customers bought those best-selling models last year, and some were angry as that they had paid more. One posted on a Facebook group for Tesla owners, "I just picked up the car yesterday. What should I do? Go to Tesla and give back the car." Tesla had a similar response from customers in China, where it announced price cuts last week. At the weekend, disgruntled owners demonstrated outside Tesla distribution centers in Shanghai and other cities, calling for compensation. Tesla has reduced prices twice in China in the last 6 months, and they are now 13% to 24% below September levels. Moving on, Twitter has secured a ruling allowing the social media company to force several laid-off workers suing over their termination to pursue their claims via individual arbitration rather than a class action lawsuit. U.S. Judge James Donato on Friday ruled that 5 former Twitter employees pursuing a proposed class action, accusing the company of failing to give adequate notice before laying them off after its acquisition by Elon Musk, must pursue their claims in private arbitration. Donato granted Twitter's request to force the 5 ex-employees to pursue their claims individually, citing agreements they signed with the company. Twitter did not immediately respond to the request for comment. The San Francisco judge left for another day as warranted by developments in the case, whether the entire class action lawsuit must be dismissed. Though, as he noted, 3 other former Twitter employees who alleged they had opted out of the company's arbitration agreement have now joined the lawsuit after it was first filed. The lawyer who represents the plaintiffs, Shannon Liz Rydon, said today that it is not fair. Well, we'll now take a very short break, a look at today's foreign exchange rates. Stay tuned to Channel 44. Get to know how the dollar is performing against major currencies here on Channel 44. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, that's happening here in Uganda. You can pass by any forex bureau knowing what the exchange rate is of major foreign currencies. Now, back to international business. The world's wealthiest residents have been getting far richer, far faster than everybody else over the past 2 years. The top 1% have captured nearly twice as much new wealth as the rest of the world during that period, according to Oxfam's annual inequality report released on Sunday. Their fortune soared by 26 trillion, while the bottom 99% only saw their net worth rise by 16%, by $16 trillion. And the wealth accumulation of the super rich accelerated during the pandemic. Looking over the past decade, they netted just half of all the new wealth created, compared to 2/3 during the last 2 years. The report, which draws on data compiled by Forbes, is timed to coincide with the kickoff of the annual World Economic Forum meetings in Davos, Switzerland, an elite gathering of some of the wealthiest people and world leaders. Meanwhile, many of the less fortunate are struggling, and some 1.7 billion workers live in countries where inflation is outpacing wages. Poverty reduction likely stalled last year after the number of global poor skyrocketed in 2020. While ordinary people are making daily sacrifices on essentials like food, the super rich have outdone even their wildest dreams, according to the executive director of Oxfam International. Moving on, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket, the towering launch vehicle known for its boosters, aerial acrobatics, and synchronized landings when returning to Earth, took to the skies Sunday, delivering national security payloads to orbit for the U.S. military. The mission, called USSF-67, took off at 5:56 p.m. ET from Kennedy Space Center in Florida, marking the 5th successful flight of the rocket recently dethroned as the world's most powerful operation launch in the world of vehicles. The mission was initially advertised to launch on Saturday, and the reason for the one-day delay was not immediately clear. The Falcon Heavy debuted to much fanfare in 2018, where SpaceX CEO Elon Musk attached his personal Tesla Roadster to a test payload on the launch. The car is still in space, taking an oblong path around the sun that swings out as far as Mars's orbital path. The rocket followed up the test mission with 2 launches in 2019 before taking a 3-year hiatus. The vast majority of SpaceX's missions do not require the Falcon Heavy's amped-up power. On the other hand, SpaceX's workhorse, a Falcon 9 rocket, launched more than 60 times in 2022 alone, sending 2 groups of astronauts to space, as well as Starlink's satellite and a variety of spacecraft. Well, we'll now take a look at today's fuel prices from different petrol stations around Kampala, which include Total, Shell, and many others. Stay tuned. Well, we'll continue with our international news. In our last story today, grain is once again leaving Ukrainian ports, and the price of fertilizers is falling sharply. Billions of dollars in aid has been mobilized. Yet the world is still on the grips of the worst food crisis in modern history, as Russia's war in Ukraine shakes global agriculture systems, already grappling with the effects of extreme weather and the pandemic. Market conditions may have improved in recent months, but experts do not expect imminent relief. That means more pain for vulnerable communities already struggling with hunger, as it boosts the risk of starvation and famine in countries such as Somalia, which is contending with what the United Nations describes as a catastrophic food emergency. The issue on the agenda as government and business leaders head to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland this week. It will vie for attention as attendees discuss topics ranging from energy costs and maintaining global security to artificial intelligence and demographic shifts. David Beasley, the head of UN's World Food Programme, tweeted that the elite gathering comes at a critical time. His agency received $14 billion in 2022, an unprecedented sum that includes more than $7 billion from the United States. That helped it deliver food and assistance to about 160 million people worldwide. Well, that brings us to the end of international business. We'll now take a break, and when we return, Issa Chigongo will be bringing us a live report from the farmers market. Stay tuned to Channel 44.